Before jumping into the business of the day and in accordance with the Cannabis Control Board bylaws, I will raise a motion to temporarily delegate the role of chair to myself for this public meeting due to the chair's inability to attend the meeting in person. Does any member second the motion?
Second.
I will now call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries to delegate the role of chair temporarily to me for this meeting. Now onto the agenda. Today's agenda includes review and approval of the meeting minutes from the Cannabis Control Board meeting held on July 2nd, 2026. Consideration of adult use applications for approval. Consideration of adult use amendment requests. Consideration of adult use applications for renewal. Consideration of conditional adult use retail dispensary applications for renewal. Consideration of adult use applications for denial. Consideration of certain applications with non-viable location requesting the board determine whether granting the license would promote public convenience and advantage. Consideration of research license annual report. Consideration of research license renewal. Consideration of registered organization amendment. Consideration of Gotham Buds declaratory ruling. A discussion of community impact plans. An update from the Office of Cannabis Management. Public comment, and then we will adjourn. As you can see, we have a fairly full agenda today. The first order of business is review and approval of the meeting minutes for the July 2nd, 2026 Cannabis Control Board meeting. May I please have a motion to approve the July 2nd, 2026 board meeting minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second on the motion? I think we need a second from Buffalo.
Are you able to hear me? I second.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Is there any discussion by any board member? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion to approve the July 2nd board meeting minutes carries. For our first order of business, may I please have a motion to consider resolution 26-2050, consideration of adult use cannabis licenses for approval.
I'll move.
Thank you. I will now ask Stephen Geske to provide a brief overview of this resolution.
Thank you, Acting Chair, Board Member Brad Usher. Before the board today is a cohort of 27 adult use applications, which have gone through OCM's process of review. The 27 applicants include 7 cultivators, 10 processors, 7 retail dispensaries, and 2 card licensees. With respect to those licenses, I'd like to bring the board's attention to one of those matters in which we received some additional information just late last evening regarding card licensee Marathon Trucking Corporation. Would recommend that the agency take that one back and for further review so we have a full opportunity to exercise due diligence over the recently submitted and received information. And I'm happy to take any additional questions from the board on those applications. There were a number of applications for which we received some municipal opinions in opposition to or not in support thereof. And I can take any questions regarding any of those matters before the board. Thank you.
Any questions from board members?
So just to be clear, we are not voting on the application for Marathon Trucking today?
That would be the agency recommendation. As we want to fully vet the newly received information from last evening. Additionally, there was another matter before the board in the matter of Cream 4004 LLC, where the municipality advised the board that the applicant did not participate in the community board process in any manner. And as a consequence, the Office of Cannabis Management is concerned whether or not the interactions between that applicant and the community board were sufficient to satisfy the board's direction.
Yes, and I was going to ask about Cream. There are a number of applications today that have negative community board opinions. In most of those cases, it does appear that the applicant made a significant effort to engage with those community boards and address issues raised. However, in the case of Cream 4004, they did not attend a meeting, nor did they submit any information about efforts to try to meet with the community board. And so I think we should lay that one aside as well as the marathon until we can get appropriate information for marathon. So I guess based on that, I would, does anybody else have discussion about those issues?
Just one question. Are we getting back to the community board with specific responses to their concerns?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Board Member Knight. So as a matter of course, and a part of OCM's and the board's habit and routine, upon receipt of negative municipal opinions, the board always sends a response to the municipality that summarizes the concerns received and the board's responses thereto. And in each of these instances, a letter would be issued to the community board that itemizes the board's the resolution of the matter and that it was in compliance with the statute.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will now call for a vote to approve resolution number 2650 with the amendment to table the two applications, OCM Retail 2023-001794, Cream 404, 4004 LLC, and OCM Card application 2025-0003, Marathon Trucking.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. For our next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider resolution 2651, consideration of adult use license amendment requests.
I'll move.
May I have a second? Thank you.
Second.
I will now ask Stephen Geske to provide a brief overview of this resolution.
Thank you very much, Acting Chair Brad Usher. The cannabis law and regulations allow the board to authorize amendments to cannabis licenses. Through the amendment survey, cannabis licensees can request certain amendments, including location changes in which in accordance with our regulations require board approval. The office has been reviewing amendment requests on a rolling basis in tandem with the review of applications. The amendment requests before the board today include a mix of both supply side licensees and retail licensees. In total, there are 23 licensees who are requesting an amendment in some form. As a reminder to licensees, the office will only process amendment requests via the amendment survey, which is located on our website under the licensing tab. Email submission of license or permit change requests will not be considered. Thank you, and I can answer all questions the board may have. But before I put a period there, I would like to call out the board's attention that we did receive a negative municipal opinion in regard to one of these amendments. That is Times Square, and there is a proposed response from the board. And in that matter, it was like kind of some of the similar matters from the earlier one. It was a concern regarding engagement with the community board. But upon office review, we determined that the engagement is in compliance with the statute, and there are no legal impediments to this particular amendment. Can take any and all questions. Thank you.
Is there any discussion, question, or comment from the board? Yeah, I will just, on the Times Square shop, I'll say that it does appear that the applicant, after getting a negative opinion, did meet with the community board twice. And it does seem to have done their due diligence and engagement. I will now call for a vote. Ms. Knight, Ms. Rodriguez-Dabney,
Yes.
and I vote aye. The motion to approve resolution 2026-51, consideration of adult use license and permit amendment requests, carries. For our next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider resolution 2026-52, consideration of adult use applications for renewal.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. I will now ask Stephen Geske to provide a brief overview of this resolution.
All right. Thank you very much, Acting Board Chair Usher. Pursuant to Article 4 of the Cannabis Law, all adult use licensees must renew their license every 2 years. A renewal application requires a licensee to submit community impact plan details. Community impact plan details, proof of valid labor peace agreement, employee demographic, wage and benefit information, proof of notice to municipality form if applicable, and required license renewal fee. The 76 applications up for renewal today have completed these requirements. As a reminder for all licensees, you must submit your renewal application no fewer than 60 days and no more than 120 days prior to your license expiration. As a reminder for licensees with retail authorization, please submit notification to municipality no less than 30 days before submission of a renewal application to our office. A licensee who has submitted a timely and sufficient renewal application may continue to operate under an expired license through the State Administrative Procedures Act, SAPA, until a decision is made on the renewal application. Licensees who fail to submit a renewal application before their license expires will be unable to continue operations. It is extremely important that licensees file the renewal applications in a timely manner. Licensees who receive communication from our office as a reminder will receive communication from our office as a reminder, but may also visit our website /licensing to submit the renewal application. And can take any questions if the board has any specific questions regarding these renewals.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there any discussion, questions, or comment from any board member?
No.
I will now call for a vote. Ms. Knight,
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez-Dabney,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion to approve Resolution 2026-52, consideration of adult use applications for renewal, carries. For the next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider Resolution 2026-53, consideration of conditional adult use retail dispensary renewals.
I'll move.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. I will now ask Stephen Geske to provide a brief overview of this resolution.
All right. Thank you, Acting Board Chair Usher. The conditional period for card licenses is 4 years. Like all other adult use licenses, the license must be renewed every 2 years. Part 116 outlines requirements for the card license, including renewal. The card licenses included in the resolution today have submitted a renewal application to the office, including requiring a municipal notice in accordance with Section 76 of the Cannabis Law. The office recommends the approval for the renewal for the 9 applications included in the packet. Thank you. And I may answer any questions regarding the specifics.
Any questions? I will now call for a vote. Ms. Knight,
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez-Dabney,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion to approve Resolution 2026-53, consideration of conditional adult use retail dispensaries, carries. For our next order of business, the board would like to discuss adult use application denials. I will pass the floor to Stephen Geske to discuss these denials.
Thank you very much, Acting Chair Usher and members of the board. Under the Cannabis Law, the board is charged with the authority to issue or refuse to issue any registration, license, or permit. The applications recommended for denial are adult use applications cited for illicit cannabis sales. After reviewing the Cannabis Law and our accompanying regulations, the office has concluded that 2 applications are recommended for denial before the board today. These 2 applications for which the office is recommending denial are similar to other applications that the board has already denied by the basic fact pattern of applications for regulated licensure being submitted with the office, engaging in some type of cannabis operations. Next, having some type of investigation by the office's Enforcement and Investigation Division. And next, notice of violations being served upon the owners of those locations for illicit cannabis sales. For all of those reasons, the office submits that these 2 applications ought to be denied. Another factor regarding the 2 applications is that there is common ownership of those 2. So with respect to The first application for the board is JD Smoke Shop. The office recommends denial, again, because they engage in legal illicit sales in violation of cannabis law, section 131. In that instance, the applicant was issued a notice of violation by the Office of Cannabis Management on February 12th of 2025, based upon the discovery of illicit cannabis products in the month preceding in January of 2025. The applicant was found to be in violation of the cannabis law, section 125, parens 1, and cannabis law, section 137, parens 1D1. Later in July, on July 22nd of 2026, a proposed denial notice was issued by the office recommending that the application be denied. The office did receive correspondence back from the applicant's attorney disagreeing with the office's recommendation. Nevertheless, based upon review of that supplemental information provided by the applicant's attorney, the office reaffirms its recommendation to the board to deny the application. And I can take any additional questions regarding that specific application.
Thank you, Stefan. Is there any discussion, question, or comment from the board?
None.
Just did the licensee's attorney or applicant's attorney have any specific claims about, I mean, they were issued these violations. Was there any challenge to that, or?
They disagreed with the office's conclusion. One of the arguments was that they disagreed because they were selling hemp products. But at the end of the day, what the office's Enforcement and Investigations Division seized was cannabis flower, right? And so there you go. It's pretty clear cut.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this does fit a fact pattern for previous licensees we've denied or applicants we've denied. I do think it is important that we protect the operators who are following the law, and so I think this denial makes sense. Okay, under the authorization delegated to the board, I will now call on a vote on the decision to deny OCM Retail 2023-00250 JD Smoke Shop, Inc. Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez-Dabney?
Aye.
And I vote in favor. The motion to deny OCM Retail 2023-00250 JD Smoke Shop carries. I will now pass the floor to Stephen Gusky to discuss the next application for consideration.
Thank you very much, Acting Chair Usher. I already mentioned some of the foundational facts involving the second recommended denial, and its name is My Choice Smoke Shop, OCM Retail -2023-000583. Again, the basic facts are relatively simple. Filed an application for regulated cannabis sales, began selling cannabis impermissibly before the license was issued. Enforcement investigation inspected the location on April 8th, 2026, so much more recently. And they discovered illicit cannabis products, and they were found to be in violation of cannabis law, section 125, parens 1, and section 137, parens 1D1. And a moment ago, I did also make reference that there's some common ownership interests, familial interests in those two locations. And just call to the board's attention is that with respect to JD Smoke Shop, that one, a notice of violation was issued in 2025, and yet this location apparently kept operating into 2026, right? So that is an additional factor that presents pause for concern.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there any discussion, question or comment by any board member?
None here.
Okay, under the authorization delegated to the board, I will now call for a vote on the decision to deny OCM Retail 2023-000583 My Choice Smoke Shop, Inc. Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez-Dabney?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion to deny OCM Retail 2023-000583 My Choice Smoke Shop, Inc. carries. For our next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider Resolution 2026-54, consideration of certain applications with non-viable locations requesting the board determine whether granting the license would promote public convenience and advantage.
So moved.
May I have a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. I will now ask Stefan Geske to provide a brief overview of this resolution.
All right. Thank you very much, Acting Board Chair Usher. There is one PCA request before the board today. This request will be evaluated under the regulations that went into effect on November 5th, 2025. In accordance with resolution number 2026-47, the Office of Cannabis Management has provided notice to all applicable parties regarding this request and offered the opportunity to be heard through oral comments. Each represented party will be allotted up to 3 minutes to address the board regarding the public convenience and advantage request. Following each presentation, board members may ask questions as deemed appropriate. The order of presentations will be as follows. First, a brief staff presentation by yours truly. Second, oral comments from the submitter of the PCA request. Third, oral comments from the local jurisdiction. And finally, oral comments from the affected licensee located within the applicable proximity of the proposed retail dispensary premises. As a reminder, the board will review the entire application package when contemplating if there is public convenience and advantage in the request. Stated otherwise, if the application, the application the board considers will determine whether or not to approve the whole application, not just the location of the dispensary. So as to the merits of this particular application, the office's review did not discover any legal impediments as to proximity to either schools or churches. I do know that there's been some community concern regarding its proximity to schools and churches, but upon the office's review, we did not see any legal impediments under existing legal standards. That stated, this proposed dispensary is approximately 600 feet within an existing dispensary. And additional to that, it is in a obviously a high traffic area and a high population density area. And I will note that there are approximately 7 dispensaries within about a half-mile distance from the proposed location. So, I'll leave that as kind of the background. And I can answer any questions the board may have, or we can turn it over to the public comment.
Any questions? Okay.
None.
Okay. So I think it makes sense to move on to the public comment on this. And again, this is a new procedure for us. This is the first licensed PCA to come under the new regulations. So the board will now call up counsel for OCM Retail 2023 001599, Andrew Cooper, who is the entity that has asked the board to consider if there is public convenience and advantage and to provide comments. As a reminder, you will have 3 minutes to provide comments.
Members of the board, Madam Chair in Buffalo and Executive Director, my name is Andrew Cooper. I'm counsel to New York Retail 3 applicant on this PCA waiver application. And it's an honor to stand before you, being that this is the first time we are considering a waiver under the newly designed rules. So since it's the first time I've chosen to speak before the board, it's a pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity to do so. Just by way of background, the application relates to a proposed location at 831 3rd Avenue. There is one other licensee, Urban Leaf, that is within 1,000 feet. I heard 600 feet, anywhere between 600 and 700 feet away. That is by our calculations, although the actual distance in walking or driving is a little different. And I'll get to that. The neighboring applicant's been in operation almost 2.5 years, since April 18th, 2024. What I will say before I start is that we got a unique opportunity today. Everybody who came here traveled through Midtown East. You had an opportunity, assuming you took the subway 6M or the E, you walk literally in the periphery of Midtown East. So to get a sense of the population density, the number of residential buildings, commercial space, it is one of the most highly trafficked areas, I want to say, in the country, definitely in New York State. So as far as the 7 locations, 7 retailers that are operational in a half a mile, taking into account the population density, I don't think that we're looking very different than somewhere upstate. Number 2, I don't know that there's any other operational dispensaries on 3rd Avenue at all. And 3rd Avenue is replete with illegal or illicit shops. So going right to the points that are considered on this application and under the PCA waiver rules. Number 1, factor 1, distance. Yes, 600 to 700 feet, even taking 600 feet, it's almost 30% more than the floor, 500 to 1,000 feet for consideration and eligibility for the waiver. No other dispensary exists within 1,000 feet other than Urban Leaf. And the 2 sites that we're talking about face different avenues, 2nd and 3rd Avenue, and serve very different and distinct pedestrian corridors, as well as have unique consumer traffic patterns. Very little overlap. Barriers. While no traditional topographical barrier exists, the one-way traffic patterns, that is 3rd Avenue North, 2nd Avenue South, East 51st westbound, and West 50th East, make it very difficult to navigate from one to the other. Car, and if you're walking, we'll get to that, but walking is almost at 850 feet. Vehicular traffic with regard to travel distance is probably closer to between 1,000 and 1,750 feet away. Very different than a straight line traffic pattern. Once again, very north, very south on 2nd and 1st and 3rd Avenue. So you have to literally navigate around. Avenues average 750 to 900 feet.
Thank you. I think the board may have some additional questions, but thank you for your.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from board members?
None here.
Do you have any data that speaks to the commercial activity that you just referenced?
I'm happy to provide it. Yeah, we did. We called it and analyzed the specific traffic patterns, the density, residential, commercial, retail, and I can provide that to the board very, very easily.
Okay, that would be helpful. I think one of the questions that we as a board are starting to have to address under these new regs is what exactly represents saturation for a neighborhood. And certainly that's going to be different depending on the neighborhood. I will point the 7 within a half mile is one thing, but I also know there's 6 within 2,000 feet. So there are a lot of establishments in this neighborhood. I think the argument that there's none on 3rd Avenue is certainly relevant. But I think looking at the saturation question and whether this really serves, and as a New Yorker, there aren't many people who are going to be driving to this location.
I understand, and I'm a native New Yorker myself.
The traffic patterns are not necessarily my major concern.
But to that point, they're uniquely positioned. Mm-hmm. So while yes, there are that many within 2,000 square feet, because of this location on 3rd and because of the one-way situation, even with walking, you're talking about going from the south end on 3rd to the very north side on 2nd. So it's obviously not the same road. So.
Okay, well, thank you. And
Sure.
If you could submit to the board additional data, that would be helpful. I think we may be taking our time on making this decision if we can get additional information.
I understand. As the first one, and I'm happy to provide it. If there's anything else you'd like to see, we've done pretty significant research in determining whether this makes sense under the current new application guidelines. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The board will now call up. Oh, here we go. The board will now call up District Manager of Community Board 6, Jesus Perez. You will have 3 minutes to provide comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Acting Chair, and members of the Cannabis Control Board. My name is Jesus Perez, and I am the District Manager of Manhattan Community Board 6, the municipality with jurisdiction over 831 3rd Avenue. I'm here to convey my board formal objection to the public convenience and advantage request for NY Retail 3 Incorporated. In March, Manhattan Community Board 6 adopted a resolution of objection on the unanimous recommendation of our Business Affairs and Licensing Committee. We also heard input from residents of our community, and it was unanimous in opposition as well. Our objection comes down to the two words in front of you: convenience and advantage. A public convenience is another subway stop, so people can get around. A public convenience is another park that everyone can enjoy. A public convenience is another grocery store. People need food. A public convenience is more affordable housing. People need places to live. Another cannabis dispensary a couple hundred feet closer than the one already down the block is not a public convenience. As we heard, a half dozen licensed dispensaries already serve this area. Another sits just down the block and around the corner. Adding yet another cannabis dispensary cannot reasonably be considered a convenience, and it is certainly not an advantage, not to the community and not to the existing dispensary owners who open their doors without the exemption that this applicant is seeking. And while there may be no legal impediment as to churches and schools, as we heard, the fact remains that this site sits inside a dense cluster of schools, houses of worship, and youth and family serving institutions, the Sutton Place Synagogue and Kaplan Nursery School, the Children's Academy, the Child Mind Institute, the New York Center for Living. The head of the Beekman School testified at our committee meeting that his students would be 443 feet away, door to door, from this proposed dispensary. That gives our community pause. By the applicant's own account, this site was chosen partly because it shares a landlord with their existing store. That is a convenience to the applicant. It is not a convenience for the community. Manhattan Community Board 6 respectfully urges you to decline a public convenience and advantage determination for this dispensary. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, question, or comment by any board member? Just, I'll ask you one, Jesus, and hello from a former life.
Yes.
So one of the questions, again, I'll sort of ask you the same question about saturation. Obviously, we want to provide enough cannabis stores for people to have access, but we are looking at the question of what constitutes oversaturation of a neighborhood. And certainly, even in the old PCA process, the opinions of the local municipalities or community boards, in the case of New York City, are something we want to take seriously. Does the board have any thoughts about what they think do they think this neighborhood has reached a level of saturation in terms of cannabis? Or,
well, obviously the board would need, data from the existing locations, but as you heard already, there are already a good half dozen already. If you go out a little bit farther, which is not really that far if you're walking, there are over a dozen in this area, in the East Midtown area alone. So our community does think that this area is saturated. Perhaps wait some time. Let's see how these establishments fare, and it can be reconsidered at a later time.
thank you. Hearing no further questions, the board will now call up counsel for OCM card 2400121, Organic Relief Leaf. Avinoam Rosenfeld, provide comments. Organic Relief Leaf is a licensed dispensary nearby. You have 3 minutes to provide comment.
Good afternoon, Chair Usher, Acting Chair, and members of the Cannabis Control Board. My name is Avinoam Rosenfeld, and I appear on behalf of Organic Leaf, LLC, the card social equity license operating under the name Urban Leaf at 977 2nd Avenue. We respectfully request that the board deny the public convenience and advantage request submitted by New York Retail 3, Inc. for 831 3rd Avenue. This application begins with an important legal fact. The premises is a non-viable location under New York proximity regulation because it is within 1,000 feet of an existing licensed dispensary. The applicant is therefore seeking an exception to the governing rule and bears the burden of demonstrating with evidence that this particular location would promote public convenience and advantage. The burden has not been met. Organic Relief operates approximately 697 feet from the proposed location. The two premises serve the same compact Midtown East neighborhood. They are connected by a short, direct walk along ordinary city streets. There is no waterway, highway, structural obstruction, topographic barrier, or significant travel distance separating them. 3rd Avenue consists primarily of office buildings whose workforce and customer base are already fully served by the existing stores. The regulation directs the board to consider these circumstances demonstrated consumer demand and the existence of social and economic equity licenses within the applicable area. Organic Relief Leaf is precisely such a licensee. It entered the regulated market as a card license, invested its approved location, and presently provides the neighborhood with convenient access to tested and regulated cannabis products. New York Retail 3 directly undermines state equity mandates by diluting revenue of an established C card license operator. Additionally, there is no demonstrated gap in lawful cannabis access. General statements concerning Midtown's population, pedestrian traffic, commercial activity, or public transportation cannot establish the necessary exceptional need. These conditions exist through Manhattan. If they were sufficient by themselves, the 1,000-foot rule would have no practical meaning. The local record also weighs strongly against approval. On February 26, 2026, Manhattan Community Board 6 Business Affairs and Licensing Committee heard the applicant and extensive community testimony. After considering that testimony, the committee voted to recommend a denial. The concerns were specific to this location. The community identified the American Jewish Congress, approximately 100 feet away, the Child Mind Institute, approximately 280 feet away, and the Beekman School, approximately 297 feet away. Maren Holman, head of the Beekman School, personally appeared and expressed the school's concerns. Additionally, Panda Express, a highly popular teen hangout for meals, is directly next door. This will have a direct negative impact on our youth. The applicant is asking.
Thank you. Let's see if there's questions. Are there any questions, comment or from any board member? I guess I'll ask you the same saturation question. You've the business you represent has been in operation for a while now, and you've probably seen additional stores enter the general vicinity. Obviously, I'm guessing many of the 6 stores that are within 2,000 feet of this location opened after you. Do you have any information you'd like to share with the board about how the market may or may not have reached? I imagine you would want to share information about how it has reached.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a very easy answer. If you go to any OCM approved dispensary licensed in the state of New York in Manhattan, and you ask them, hey, since the date you opened till today, how are sales doing? And they will tell you unequivocally that sales are plummeting like a rock. Month over month declines. And what's the reason for that? Is it because the consumer base is limited? No, it's because there are so many stores. There's such oversaturation that the market share is diluted. And adding in another store on 3rd Avenue, 600 feet away from my client, a license card applicant, it's just improper and is not within the intent of what the purpose of giving a card license was to. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and it is under the regulations. It is under the PCA law, the regulations. It is the applicant's responsibility to demonstrate to prove basically their necessity. But I think because we have requested some additional information, and given the inability to have all board members present for this meeting, I would like to call for a vote to declare that this has not been submitted for a vote, because we want to look at that additional information and table this till the next meeting for final decision.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. May I now have a call for a vote? Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez-Dabney?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The item has been tabled for the next full board meeting of the Cannabis Control Board. For our next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider Resolution 2026-55, consideration of cannabis research license annual reports.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. I will now ask Patrick McKeege to provide a brief overview of this resolution.
Thank you, Brad. In accordance with the research regulations, each research licensee must submit an annual report for the board's consideration to continue their research. This research licensee's research focuses on a goal to breed cannabis plants with increased resistance to common photopathogens such as powdery mildew, Septora leaf spot, and an improved tolerance to abiotic factors such as drought, temperature fluctuations, heavy precipitation, and humidity. By intentionally selecting and breeding cultivars exhibiting desired hardiness and resistance, the research licensee hopes to produce a seed line that can thrive in New York State's variable climate. Based on the work the research licensee has done to date, they've screened over 3,500 individual plants and have isolated 17 resilient cultivars exhibiting desired traits. These cultivars are continuing to be bred to verify the stability of the traits for additional generation, and the office is recommending the continuance of this research throughout the research license period. Happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you, Patrick. Is there any discussion, question, or comment from the board?
None.
Hearing none, I will now call for a vote. Ms. Knight,
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez Dabney,
Aye.
and I vote in favor. The motion to approve Resolution 2026-55, consideration of cannabis research license annual report, carries. For our next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider Resolution 2026-56, consideration of cannabis research license renewal.
I'll move.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I will now ask Patrick McKeach to provide a brief overview of this resolution.
Thank you, Brad. And this is very similar to the last one. Resolution to consider a research license renewal that was initially approved by the board in 2024. This researcher is also looking into desired traits for cannabis plants, including high cannabinoid content and terpene content. The researcher has successfully implemented a collaborative breeding program with a handful of New York State cultivators, and is hoping to continue this research for another 2 years. The office is recommending approval of the renewal for this research license. Happy to answer any additional questions the board may have.
Thank you, Patrick. Is there any discussion, question, or comment from the board? Hearing none, I will now call for a vote. Ms. Knight,
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez Dabney,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion to approve Resolution 2026-56, consideration of cannabis research license renewal, carries. For our next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider Resolution number 2026-57, consideration of registered organization amendment request.
So moved.
I'll,
May I have a second? I think I heard a second.
yes.
Thank you. I will now ask Patrick McKeach to provide a brief overview of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Usher. Before the board today is an amendment request for a registered organization to add a volatile hydrocarbon extraction activity. We have a number of licenses who have gone through this in accordance with our regulations. There's additional information the licensee needs to supply, including a fire marshal report, ensuring that the area where the extraction activity is going to be taking place meets all the safety requirements. The office is recommending approval of this amendment.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, question, or comment from the board? Just one question. The procedure that they're asking to use, is that used by other producers or?
Correct. Yeah, it's a pretty favorable extraction method used by a number of our licensees today.
Thank you. I will now call for a vote. Ms. Knight,
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez Dabney,
Yes.
and I vote in favor. The motion to approve resolution number 2026-57, consideration of registered organization amendment request, carries. For our next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider resolution 2026-58, consideration of Gotham Bud's declaratory ruling.
So moved.
I'll
May I
second.
have a second? Thank you. As the board members are aware, this declaratory ruling request first came to the board in early 2026. Following repeated attempts to resolve the issue between the parties, the board took action at the May 29th, 2026 board meeting and requested the Office of General Counsel to fully review the matter and draft a proposed ruling for the board to consider. The office has conducted this analysis and drafted a ruling which is before the board today. In accordance with the rulings governing declaratory rulings, it is the board's power and authority to now act on this ruling after the opportunity to review the materials in line with the equity-focused principles of MRTA. At the heart of the issue in this ruling, it has to do with the ownership and sole control requirements for card licensees. In order to qualify as a card licensee, applicants had to meet specific criteria to ensure the justice-involved individual met and retained sole control of the license throughout the conditional period. The regulations detail several requirements for this control, including financial interest proportionality requirements and decision-making over the operations of the license. The reason why the board put in place these sole control and ownership requirements through the regulations was to ensure that individuals who are most harmed by cannabis prohibition would have the opportunity to meaningfully participate in the regulated market as licensees. It was not the intention for these individuals to be used to meet the criteria of the license, but then not be materially able to benefit from the opportunity. Upholding these sole control and ownership requirements is at the foundation of the goals of the MRTA, and to ensure an equitable market, prioritizing those most impacted by the enforcement of cannabis prohibition. After reviewing the office's analysis of the operating agreement for the licensee Gotham Buds LLC, the board agrees with the office's analysis that the operating agreement currently fails to satisfy the sole control proportionality applicable to the card limit. I would now like to open the opportunity for any other board members to share their comments or any additional questions related to this declaratory ruling.
So I would like to associate my comments with the acting chair and just emphasize that the underlying premise for card licensees were for sole control and ownership in the enterprise. And I think it goes to the heart of the MTRA, and just want to make sure that this is the way we are moving this effort forward.
Thank you. Any other comments?
No comments from Buffalo. I agree with what my colleagues have said.
Yeah, and just to state, the declaratory ruling, it is based on evidence that the justice-involved individual received less than hold a 51% ownership interest, but only received a 14% financial interest, and also that there were many decisions that required the consent of non-qualifying minority members as part of the decision-making process, and these are some of the things that we were very concerned about as a board. I will also note that the board give the declaratory ruling gives a number of options for resolving these issues, and that there are basically two paths: curing the aforementioned deficiencies within 30 days, or contest the board findings. And so we will be sharing this, but those are options that the parties will have. I will now call for a vote. Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez-Dabney?
Aye.
And I vote in favor. The motion to approve Resolution 2026-58, consideration of the Gotham Buds declaratory ruling, carries. For our next order of business, I will pass the floor to OCM's Chief Equity Officer, Simone Washington, to lead a discussion regarding community impact plans.
Thank you, Acting Chair Usher. And I must say, you've been doing a fabulous job stepping in for Garcia. So pursuant to the Cannabis Rules and Regulations, Part 119 and 120, all licensees, that's adult use and medical and card, are required to submit a community impact plan. And we as an office are required to evaluate the commitment of those community impact plans. In just, the community impact plans are designed to ensure that cannabis businesses provide tangible benefits to the communities in which they operate beyond their traditional business operations. In the several months that we've been collecting the CIPs, we've noticed how disparate the submissions are, and this kind of prompted the C team to do an abridged analysis of the process. We spoke with various internal and external stakeholders to determine where we could improve the process. While there were some notable benefits, such as strengthening relationships between licensees, municipalities, and community stakeholders, there were also substantive challenges brought to the forefront. OCM's ability to reasonably track, evaluate, and enforce each plan is limited by inadequate bandwidth, technology, and a clear measurement framework. Additionally, for licensees, the process to create a solid community impact plan is proven to be laborious and cost prohibitive for pre-operational and under-resourced businesses. Lastly, the rules for community boards to evaluate or consider community impact plans is unclear at this time. This creates considerable risk for the office and the market. To address this, I would like to carry forward the following recommendations under the umbrella of creating or implementing a community impact grace period through the first renewal cycle. So for this first renewal cycle, we'll treat all community impact plan submissions prior to 2028 as informational and educational for planning purposes. We'd like to understand how people are coming at this process and how we can actually meet them in the moment. In the interim, we would like to create a community impact plan attestation form to satisfy the renewal process for this renewal period. We would also like to be very clear, both at this table and also within the office, that our current focus is to support, educate, and get people ready for the implementation process. So this isn't something that we will hold over you in terms of making a final decision about your renewal application. In the interim, the office will also be creating a community impact resource guide, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and continue our quarterly webinars. Additionally, we hope to set actual clear expectations, develop internal systems, and gather statewide data over the next 6 months that will give us the ability to figure out how to create more sound structure. Also, we will work very closely with the licensing and compliance team to refine this process and provide the necessary guardrails to ensure that the process is clear, fair, and consistent. So I will pause and see if there are any questions about what's being asked here.
Any questions? So in revising this, is there an expectation that this will make the process both more transparent, but also easier for applicants to actually figure out how to do it and do it in a way that doesn't negatively impact their business?
Yes. Looking at the actual rules and regulations, it doesn't really give with any specificity what's required with these particular plans. And like I said, they've been all over the place. And so what we hope to do is to kind of streamline the process so that we're seeing something consistent so that we can actually do our evaluation process and show that we're actually having impact in communities with these plans. I would also add, I think for us more internally, this is kind of risk mitigation. We're asking people to supply something and we've not given clear guidance. And so that kind of leaves us open for litigation and other situations. And so we just want to make sure that the agency is above board, but also provide to licensees the guidance that they need.
That's great. Yeah. And I think one of the things, we obviously want this kind of community engagement for our licensees, but they face a lot of different challenges. And we want to make sure that this doesn't become something that is harming their other.
Right. And we don't want it to be burdensome.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have questions about what does good look like? And so we see everything from passing out water bottles at races to creating not-for-profit organizations. And, both of those to me speak that there's somewhere in the middle we should all be.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
That concludes the resolution portion of today's business. We will now move into our Office of Cannabis Management report. I will turn the floor over to Executive Director John Caggiula.
Thank you very much, Acting Chair Usher, and I echo Simone that you've done a terrific job stepping into Chair Garcia's shoes for this meeting. Before we get into the updates that we wanted to share, I just wanted to acknowledge and thank the board for the continued extraordinary collaboration with the office as we continue to strengthen our processes. The fact that today was a day of two significant firsts, the first public convenience and advantage consideration under our new rules, as well as the board's first declaratory ruling after very lengthy deliberation and efforts to get resolution between the parties, I think is just excellent reflection of the board's commitment to ensure that we are continuing to mature as an agency in our processes and that we are adapting our processes to reflect where the market is. So thank you for the time and effort and guidance as we have established these new protocols. A few quick updates. I know it's been a long meeting and there's still much to discuss from the office. First, we want to just celebrate the extraordinary work by OCM's enforcement unit. The single biggest bust in OCM history occurred a week and a half ago now, in partnership with the Greece Police Department. Greece is a town just outside Rochester, who had been conducting a months-long investigation on suspected drug cannabis manufacturing and trafficking. They brought in the OCM, and together we seized over $17 million worth of illegal cannabis product. Very, very significant haul and reflective of what was a very large-scale operation, given that we showed up on an idle Tuesday and walked out with $17 million worth of product. A couple of observations about this. One, we talk about OCM's commitment to addressing the unregulated market. And I think it's worth underscoring that our commitment not only is at targeting the unlicensed storefronts, who are really cannibalizing the legal market opportunity for our retail dispensaries. But this kind of work, the interdiction happening at the manufacturing and trafficking and distribution level, is also critically important because this is where you can have real impact on the supply that is flowing into these retail dispensaries. Second, as we are reviewing the inventory that was seized as part of this interdiction, one of the things that really stood out to me, and there was a lot that stood out when you're seizing $17 million worth of product, but one of the things that really stood out to me was one of the larger scale products that we found on site was their packaged gummy products, where each individual gummy was dosed at 300 milligrams of THC. The package had 4,500 milligrams of THC. By way of comparison, in the legal market, the legal limit, the thresholding, is 10 milligrams per gummy and 100 milligrams per package. So to say that again, we seized products that were dosed at 300 milligrams per gummy and 4,500 milligrams per package. Given that we are in the moment where we're having a very active conversation about how to prevent accidental ingestion, particularly amongst the minors in our community, children who are getting into products that may not be correctly stored, we are profoundly concerned about children getting to products like these. And so, this is really clarifying. I think it offers an extraordinary example of why it is so urgent that we continue to focus on addressing the unregulated market. It is such an important illustration of the delta, the difference between the legal market and the unregulated market. And I want to applaud our enforcement unit, who just did a yeoman's job, who did a terrific job in working with the Greece PD to secure this facility to get these products off the street. And we want to extend our offer to support and collaborate with police departments across this great state who may be pursuing these types of investigations. We have really built up our enforcement unit. We've got some incredible processes in place and can move very quickly to help support getting these products off of our streets, because it really is important to supporting our public health and safety priorities. So kudos to the enforcement unit, and the work continues. Second, very late breaking news. This morning, the governor signed the bill that will allow microbusinesses to participate in cannabis showcase events. Just an extraordinary thanks to the governor for moving so quickly on this. We think this is one of the first bills that she has signed coming out of this leg cycle. A huge thanks to all of the microbusinesses who put in so much effort to ensure that the legislature and the governor's office understood the opportunity that this represented for their businesses and for ensuring consumers had access to legal cannabis products across this great state. For our microbusinesses, you will be receiving a Gov Delivery blast from the office here. If it's not already gone out, it will be going out momentarily with the guidelines around participating in showcase events, including the application process. But we are absolutely thrilled that microbusinesses will now be able to participate in showcase events, selling their own products across the great state. A few reminders just about the broad strokes for participating in showcase events. Applications are due to the office 45 days before the proposed start date of the event. You can apply for events across the state, including in opt-out municipalities. However, municipal approval is required. And three, critically, there is reporting that is required for all showcase events. There's a module in Metric that will allow you to ensure that the event reporting will be done in a separate way from your standard storefront reporting. But I want to thank again the governor and her team for moving so quickly to get this done. Summer is not over yet, so there's still time to get events up and running before the close of the season. And we look forward to seeing more micro businesses participating in these at public markets and farmers markets and at their own organized events as we get through the rest of the year. Terribly exciting. Building on the showcase events, we are now adding our showcase events to the local map, the legal online cannabis activities locator map. And so you can go to cannabis.ny.gov or scan this QR code. It'll take you to a map that allows you to find where these events are happening across the great state. So thank you to our tech team for moving quickly to add these important activities to our local map. Another update for our cultivators. It is that time of year again. Our reporting on your resource use is due at the end of August 30th. We have been beating this drum now for a few months now, reminding you that these reports are due at the end of the year. These reports, or through this reporting, we get to understand what resource use looks like in our production facilities, electricity use, water use. And this is really important because as we really focus on our mandate toward sustainable industry operations, we continue to say what isn't measured can't be improved. We know that there continues to be significant opportunity to drive our cultivators toward greater efficiency. We know that cannabis cultivation facilities are some of the most energy-intensive production facilities in our agricultural economy. And so through these data, we're both learning how the trends around energy and resource use are evolving over time, but two, it enables us to be more targeted in our support for licensees as we try to identify ways in which they can use their resources more efficiently. So for the cultivators, you have until August 30th to submit these reports. And we look forward to reporting out what we are learning as we get to process this data as the summer progresses or as we get into the fall. And so with that, a couple of other very quick updates. Yesterday, we sent out an update to all of our licensees, alerting for folks to look out for phishing scams, attempts to fraudulently gain access to licensed facilities, and other sorts of fraudulent activity. We have had now a couple of very concerning security incidents that have made us have warranted us notifying licensees to be on guard and to ensure that they're maintaining a really vigilant posture. We have had people claiming to be OCM staff showing up at facilities after hours requesting to gain access. We've seen folks claiming to be vendors associated with the business and attempting to gain access. We've certainly seen a number of phishing attempts, so calling the business to try and gain access to proprietary information. And so to our licensees, as indicated in the bulletin we sent out yesterday, please be vigilant, ensure that your staff are trained, that you have appropriate, that they know that who to call in the event of a suspicious or questionable requests from folks who are attempting to gain access to the facility. If in doubt, ensure that staff know how to call and contact the managers. If in doubt, please contact the office if somebody is claiming to represent the office as they're trying to gain access to your facilities. There's still a lot of cash, particularly flowing through our retail businesses because of the challenges we have with access to banking services. There's a lot of product within our manufacturing facilities, and we want to make sure that personnel are safe, that the product is secure, and that we certainly don't have folks who are unauthorized to be on premises gaining access to your facilities. So please review that bulletin that went out yesterday. Please ensure that your facilities have appropriate security protocols in place. And if you see something, say something so that we can continue to maintain oversight over these activities and keep the rest of the market updated based on these developments as we hear about them. And so that's it. One more thing. At the request of the board, just a quick snapshot on rescheduling. No new developments on the medical side. Other than that, we are now hearing that the DEA is now inspecting facilities that have applied for DEA registration under the medical rescheduling provision. We have not yet seen any inspections of facilities in New York State, but we're hearing from our partner regulators in the rest of the country that the DEA is showing up. They are looking at everything from operating procedures to reviewing ownership structures. They're looking at where product is being stored, and they will be using that as part of the review to determine whether a facility qualifies for DEA registration. We'll continue to monitor and engage with our licensees for when the inspections of New York facilities begin, but it seems like the DEA is moving up the eastern seaboard. Two, the hearings for adult use rescheduling have now concluded. The ALJ gave the parties who participated up until August 15th to submit any supplemental material. So by next week, everything should be in. And then the judge is going to then make the decision on whether to recommend rescheduling of all cannabis, including adult use cannabis. We suspect that is going to take a while for that judgment to be issued, so no immediate action expected there. Third, just a reminder that the federal cannabinoid hemp ban, the intoxicating hemp ban, will be going into effect on November 12th. While there has been a proposal to delay that potentially by a month as part of the continuing resolution that is working through Congress right now, that's not in place. So we're still expecting that come mid-November, the cannabinoid hemp products that have proliferated across the country are going to become Schedule 1, and therefore transporting them across state lines at a minimum is going to be considered trafficking. We are going to be waiting for some guidance from the federal government on how they will be approaching enforcement of the ban once it goes into effect. But we certainly see a significant proliferation of these products across New York and the rest of the country. And so unwinding this market, I think, is going to be a process as we look out through the next few months.
Any questions for Jim? Just a couple. With those very high dosage gummies, do we know where they're coming from? Are they from legal facilities in other states? Are they just?
They appear to have been manufactured in the facilities that we
oh, okay. So
that were raided. So
within New York State.
They were big,
okay.
Both facilities were right outside Rochester, and they had fairly sophisticated manufacturing on site. And I mean, there were boxes of this stuff piled to the ceiling. It was a very, very significant part of the product that we seized. Where there's I will not speak to sources and methods and investigation that is ongoing, but they had a lot of inputs that would be used in the manufacturing process, including all of the oils that would be used to make the infused gummies on site.
And with regard to the phishing and impersonation issues, not to give you guys more stuff to do, but that might be something to create some kind of guidance where which number do they call at OCM and what else do they do if these kinds of things come up?
A great suggestion, and we're working on that as we speak. We moved quickly to get the APB out, and thank you, Steve, to you and Council's office for getting that out. But obviously a real concern to us, and for folks who may not be used to some of the security protocols required to maintain operational security, this is something that we can try to support with some guidelines on best practices or just tips to consider as you prepare your staff for these events.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's it for me. I will hand it over to my colleague Kevin Brennan for the market update.
Can you guys hear me? All right. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I want to start today's market update with a reporting update. With a public metric dashboard rolling out shortly, market updates will no longer report on retail sales every month. We will instead be moving to a quarterly cadence. We are hoping to make market updates less repetitive while giving retail market monitoring dedicated focus 4 times per year. We are also implementing semi-annual cultivation reviews in September and March. I hope to do our second one next month, but given the complexity of using metric data to forecast for the first time, it may drift to October if we think rushing will impact quality. This leaves us 6 freestyle months where we can expand on other topic areas as appropriate, as there's a lot more that we can cover. Additionally, the office will look at additional public dashboard opportunities as we continue to build out our data infrastructure. Next slide, please. In the spirit of a little variety, I wanted to use this first freestyle for something fun. Today, we'll be exploring cannabis consumer trends through the lens of summer in New York. This summer, a lot has been going on across the state, but I'm going to focus on a few events that touched our industry. Next slide, please. The first is the change of weather. Over the course of a given week, cannabis sales fluctuate based on the day. Sales typically trough early in the week, beginning to rise around Wednesday, and peak Friday as consumers stock up for the weekend. From February to April, when the weather was colder, the Friday peak was 18% of weekly sales. As the weather got warmer and New Yorkers had more viable social consumption options, this peak grew to 20% May through July. This is an 11% shift proportionally. Beverages and pre-rolls, which are both conducive to outdoor use, saw significant growth as the weather got warmer. Beverages, which are currently a small category, grew 76%. Pre-rolls, which are a much larger category, grew 26%. Next slide, please. In April, the New York Knicks began a playoff run that would last through mid-June when they defeated the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA Finals in 5 games. The ticker tape parade down Broadway's Canyon of Heroes occurred on June 18th. This slide looks at New York City cannabis sales on game days compared to the average day in 2026, normalized for day of the week. Round 1, game 2 was on 4/20, so not really attributable to the Knicks. But as you can see, the deeper into the playoffs they went, the more the city socialized and celebrated, and the more cannabis was purchased. Finals game 3 coincided with a 19% above average sales day, and the parade coincided with a 30% above average sales day. Next slide, please. Leading up to the 4th of July and America 250 festivities, New York cannabis consumers stocked up in the days leading up to the holiday weekend. On July 2nd, the Thursday before the weekend, upstate regions saw a 27% above average sales day, while downstate saw a 17% above average sales day. Average price dropped roughly 10% through the weekend as retailers likely ran specials. While this discounting occurred across the state, downstate sales appeared to be more heavily impacted, with sales dropping 10% below average on Friday. Upstate sales held despite discounting. On the 4th, sales were over 20% below average for both upstate and downstate as people attended their celebrations before returning to normal on Sunday. Next slide, please. 2 smaller categories had notable weeks. Beverages, represented in purple, grew 44% week over week on July 3rd, coinciding with the celebrations discussed in the previous slide. Concentrates, represented in green, grew 22% week over week on 7/10, which if you flip upside down spells oil. Next slide, please. Finally, the FIFA World Cup took place from June 11th to July 19th, with some matches being hosted at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. On July 19th, Spain defeated Argentina to win the FIFA World Cup. That day, New York City cannabis consumers purchased 18% more cannabis than they did on the average day. This once again highlights cannabis's role in major cultural events across the state. That's it for me. Does the board have any questions?
That was entertaining. Thank you.
I'm glad. Cool.
I used to tease that it was hard to follow John. Now it's hard to follow you. I don't have anything exciting. Just to see numbers, which in my world is exciting. So for all license issued today, 62% of adult use licenses happen to be C status. Of that, 63% are minority-owned businesses, 38% are women-owned businesses, 31% are CDIs, 6% for both distressed farmers and service-disabled veterans. Overall, we still are crossing our threshold of 50% or more with adult use licenses being C status. Of those numbers, 6% are distressed farmers, 7% are service-disabled veterans, 16% are communities disproportionately impacted, 52% are minority-owned businesses, and 57% are women-owned businesses. Across the supply chain, C is represented well, again, heavily within the retail dispensary space at 74%. The adult use micro businesses at 58%, the adult use processors at 49%, and both at 45%, adult use distributors and adult use cultivators. We want to talk a little bit more about the community impact plans. Again, the team has done a yeoman's job trying to figure out how to create a sustainable process that people are able to respond to and that we're able to evaluate. And so I'm going to turn it over to Tahira Cook, who is a program specialist leading the charge on community impact plans. Tahira?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, board members. So as you know, we have been working diligently to educate our licensees around what is required within their community impact plan. So last Tuesday, July 28th, we hosted our third community impact plan information session. And this session, as I mentioned previously, we do not only list and go into detail what is included within the community impact plan, which, you know, our licensees thoroughly need, but we also have our two licensees who are our panelists. And this time around, we had Jonathan and Nicole, who are both one a micro and one a retailer, really go into how they began their community impact plan activities, what type of partnerships they leveraged. And we find that these sessions are helpful because folks are hearing from the office and are able to ask us questions, but also hearing real life experience from, their co-licensees within the industry. So this session, we had over 100 live viewers, and following the session, we post to YouTube and our social media. And so just already we have over 305 replay views, which is already higher than our session that we conducted, I believe, back in April. So people are still really interested in this, looking to gain information into how they can, really satisfy that community impact plan requirement. But most importantly, during this session, following the details of what's required within the community impact plan and hearing from our licensees, Jakia Pearson on our C team and my close colleague walked through the launch of the community impact plan resource library. And this library really details where licensees can find more information for their community impact plan submissions. So we can go to the next slide. So it features things like a community resource directory, and sorry, because I'm virtual, so I'm trying to see if it's the right side of your screen or the left side, but I believe the right side of the screen there, you will see the community needs resource directory. It is just a screenshot of what is featured in the community impact plan resource library. This is one of the most vital components of the resource library, I believe, because it allows licensees to actually take a dive into what are the needs in their local areas. So the resource directory is separated by New York City, upstate, and Long Island. And the reason why it's kind of broken down in that way is New York City, being that they have community boards, they organize in one way. The upstate resource directories have a lot of planning boards and things like that, so they organize in another way. And Long Island is another region in which they organize separately. So licensees that are operating in these areas can actually click on, these different resource directories and get information for their local area. So for example, I'll just use Long Island because I'm from Long Island. If you are an operator, say, in Brookhaven, there is an actual document that points to the county, points to the town of Brookhaven, where you can take a look and see what local planning boards have identified as needs in your community and in your region. So instead of kind of shooting in the dark at, what type of things do I think my neighborhood needs or where I'm operating needs, there's actual research here for licensees to, tap into. Some of these, depending on the different regions, some of these resource directories also feature what type of community-based organizations and nonprofits actually conduct some of the work in the community. So it can also give licensees the opportunity to understand, what type of partnerships they can be forming and who's actually doing this type of work in the area. So that is one component that I will lift up as I think being one of the most important areas within the resource library. Some of the other areas that this resource library touches on are things like employment versus community impact. So we still get a lot of questions from licensees regarding, oh, well, I provide benefits to my employees, or, oh, I do training for them, right? So really just breaking it down and explicitly state, this is what counts, this is, does not count. We also have an idea bank. So we know that licensees who do some of their community impact activities choose, ideas and initiatives that are close and, near and dear to them. So sometimes they just have a hard time fleshing out what the actual activities or the ideas are. And the idea bank gives you some options there. So for example, if you are into something like education or you're into the environment, the idea bank breaks down some ideas and community initiatives that you can participate in or lead in that way. Definitions, not everyone speaks the community impact jargon and talk that we, so much talk about so often on the C team and within the office. So we include some definitions there. And finally, a copy of the community impact plan worksheet. And we thought this was really vital as we began to meet with municipalities and licensees. We understood that when licensees are submitting their renewal applications, it is, going in through Alchemer. So we really wanted to have a PDF or, a fillable document that licensees can utilize when they're brainstorming, when they're talking to their local municipality, when their municipality may be requesting information from them. So there's just a PDF now featured for them to, duplicate the information or adjust the information should they need, as well as just frequently asked questions that we have, encountered during this process. So we are super excited that the resource is available on our website. There's a QR code on the screen here, but you can also visit it at cannabis.ny.gov/CIP-resource-library. And so, this will live on our website and licensees can check it out. And we encourage folks that have questions related to the resource library to always reach out to us at c@ocm.ny.gov. And I'll stop there if there are any questions related to it.
Any questions? No. Thank you.
Thanks, Sierra. I just put a fine point on that. I know it feels like this is something that is perfunctory, but this is one of the major ways that we actually operationalize equity. This helps the agency and the industry reach its equity goals. And so even though it may seem like a tedious task, this is really important, especially for licensees.
Thank you. Over to Lila Hunt with a Cannabis Honestly campaign update.
Great, thank you, and good afternoon, members of the board and everyone joining us today. And continuing on in the spirit of new educational resources from the office, I'm pleased to share an update on Cannabis Honestly, which is OCM's new statewide public education campaign. It represents the next chapter of youth cannabis education in New York. And before developing the campaign, we spent more than a year talking with New Yorkers about the questions they had after legalization, the challenges they were facing, and the resources they needed the most to meet this new moment. Throughout our statewide Listen and Learn series, we talked to more than 450 New Yorkers, including 300 young people across 11 counties. And in parallel, we established the Cannabis Education Advisory Panel, a multidisciplinary group of leaders representing public health, healthcare, education, behavioral health, youth development, and lived experience. Their partnership was instrumental throughout this process. Our panel members served as thought partners. They reviewed campaign materials. They strengthened the scientific and public health content and helped ensure ultimately that the campaign reflected both the best available evidence and the lived experiences of New Yorkers. What we heard across the state was remarkably consistent. Young people wanted honest, factual information without fear. Trusted adults wanted help navigating cannabis-related conversations. And one finding in particular really shaped the campaign. Nearly 60% of the young people we spoke with said they would turn to a trusted adult, to a parent, if they had questions about cannabis. But when we asked trusted adults if they were prepared for those conversations, only about 1 in 10 said they were. Cannabis Honestly was designed to help close that gap. CannabisHonestly.org serves as a trusted resource where young people and trusted adults can find tailored, evidence-informed information about today's cannabis products, New York state law, the health effects, safe storage, frequently asked questions, and common myths and misinformation, all of which is based on what we heard directly from New Yorkers across the state. One of the campaign's signature features is the personalized interactive cannabis convo starter tool. Trusted adults can enter a young person's age, the age of the person they are in particular would like to have a conversation with, the situation that they themselves are navigating, and their top concerns. And the tool generates personalized conversation guidance to help them start that conversation. The website also includes a glossary of common cannabis-related terms and a suite of educational resources available in both English and Spanish, all of which can be ordered via the Cannabis Education Library on OCM's website, free of charge. Next slide, please. So we're now doing some work to bring Cannabis Honestly into communities across the state. It was designed to extend well beyond the website and paid media campaign because we know that public education is most effective when it reaches people where they already are, which means in their schools, libraries, healthcare settings, and community organizations. That's why we've developed a community engagement toolkit with ready-to-use messaging, graphics, and outreach materials that community-based organizations can use and incorporate into their existing work streams. So on August 27th, we'll host a statewide webinar designed for community-based organizations to introduce that toolkit, highlight the available resources, and discuss opportunities to bring Cannabis Honestly into communities across New York State. In many ways, Cannabis Honestly represents the evolution of public health education. We've moved well beyond the days of this is your brain on drugs or one-size-fits-all messaging, and we're now in an approach that's instead grounded in evidence, informed by the people we're trying to reach, and ultimately designed to support open and honest conversations about cannabis. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
No.
Thank you for your presentation.
I can take this one. As we close, one very exciting announcement. In just a few days, August 11th, we're going to be having our next cannabis industry job fair. This really it's been a great collaboration with the Department of Labor, with Black Cannabis, to try and help folks better understand and identify the job opportunities emerging in this industry and connect employers with potential employment candidates. So this is going to be held up in Albany. You can find more details on our website, but really, really important opportunity as we continue to talk about workforce development, workforce opportunities in New York. That through these types of events, we're helping bring people who may not understand the opportunities that exist within the cannabis industry to connect with potential jobs in the industry. So you can go to cannabis.ny.gov/events to get full details on this job fair. There's going to be raffles for Stewart's gift cards. And if you've ever had Stewart's ice cream, it is worth going just for that. But we hope you'll be able to make it. And we will continue to do these because I think it's a really important way for us to support workforce development in the state. Before we begin public comment, before we close this out, I would just like to take a quick point of privilege because through the work that Simone and her team were doing on community impact plans, through the launch of the Cannabis Honestly campaign that Lila just spoke about, and through the jobs fair that the EA team, the external affairs team, has been working on, one of the words that I hope you heard a lot through those presentations was community. It has taken us some time to build the resources to go out and actually hear from the communities on what's working, what support is needed, how to more effectively serve the communities. And this work, the launch of the resource kit for the community impact plans, the Cannabis Honesty campaign, and this job fair is a reflection of the pre-work that was done, going out, hearing, listening, engaging, and then building resources that reflect the needs as we heard them. And so I'm immensely proud of the team, the work that is being done by the office across the spectrum of our work, that so much of our work is rooted in community feedback. It's going to be our approach moving forward. We are always willing to listen. And while we may not always be able to move as quickly as we would like, I hope that you are seeing the reflection in our work of a deep commitment to attending to the needs of the community and deep thought to ensure that the resources we're building reflect what we hear. So thank you for the team for the extraordinary work that has gone into building all of these work streams. A lot of folks don't appreciate how much time and effort it takes on the back end, but we hope that you're able to take advantage of these resources as they go live. So with that, over to you.
Thank you all to all the members of the OCM team. For our next order of business, we will be providing members of the public an opportunity to address the board. We won't be answering questions, but we certainly welcome any members of the public to take this opportunity to share their thoughts. Each member of the public addressing the board during this time will have no more than 2 minutes to speak on agenda items. Please note, if you submitted comments electronically, those will be captured in the meeting minutes for today's meeting and posted on the website. With that, we will begin our public comment, and I've got 3 folks from Buffalo, so I think I'm going to start with them. Our first commenter will be Paul Steinbruckner, followed by Thomas Spanos. Buffalo ready? Maybe I'll start with.
Just Buffalo, can you hear us?
Well,
we can hear.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Paul Steinbruckner, followed by Thomas Spanos.
Hi, I'm Paul Steinbruckner. I want to start by pointing out that John Caja just flat out lied to you guys. He lied to me about it at the CAB meeting in Buffalo at the end of June, and continues to push the lie, and this is what it is. He said that they're waiting until the hearing concludes on Schedule 3. Did I get cut off?
No, we can
No, we hear you.
Okay. That now that just threw me off. He lied about the Schedule 3 thing, saying that they're going to determine whether or not recreational is going to be included. And I quote from the first day of the meeting from the chief counsel of the DEA, stating, today's meeting is not about recreational cannabis and it's not about legalization. Meaning they are not addressing recreational cannabis. They're only addressing medical cannabis. This is the biggest and most important thing that everybody as a licensee should be paying attention to. It's funny that they barely mentioned it in this meeting when it's the most important thing and just mentioned it at the end. We all need to be paying attention to this. Glass House Industries, in fact, the largest square footage operator in the United States, is setting up to do interstate commerce with cannabis. If we are not allowed to be changed to medical distinction as suppliers, we will be at a disadvantage with every other cannabis company in the nation. If we are given the ability or agency to decide whether or not we want to apply to become medical at no additional fee, because the fees are pretty much the same now since they were lowered for the RODs and the RONDs a month or two back. By granting us this, or by not granting us this, all AU licensees will continue to be in violation of federal law. We cannot trust the federal
Please
government right
conclude
now.
your remarks. Thank you.
Thanks, bud. I hate this. There's never a chance for us to
Thomas Spanos, followed by Tony Milan.
involving us in the conversation. Stop having it all behind closed doors.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Spanos. I'm a cannabis attorney here in Buffalo, New York. I wanted to just touch on a few different issues today. First, for anybody who wants a level playing field for the legal market, I think we have to say kudos to the Enforcement Division for their hard work in trying to, bring illicit, eliminate illicit cannabis activities, which is really just taking away business from our licensed license holders. So kudos to them on their hard work and the what they've been able to achieve. Secondly, I wanted to touch on licensing fees for our cultivators who are trying to step up to the plate to address the shortfall in canopy. I know that, and I'm not going to address any other issues that we've appealed to the board about, but I think it's unequitable to have such a large reduction in licensing fees for registered organizations and then basically be hitting our cultivators with what seems like onerously high fees to step up to the plate to try and provide the flower that our market is not currently able to provide. It might be, current policy, but in effect, how it looks is like they're being double charged on their licensing fees, just depending on whether their amendment for canopy space goes through before or after their renewal. I would encourage the board to consider lowering their licensing fees for social equity applicants in the same way that they have for registered organizations. I think that could only benefit our market. Secondarily, just in an effort to try and reduce barriers for our social equity applicants, I know the office is going through its own regulatory review right now, and I would encourage them to look at eliminating the community impact plan requirement for social equity licensees. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Tony Milan, and then we'll go to New York. Andrew Cooper will be our first speaker here.
First of all, I want to say shout out to New York. New York is doing great work, giving everybody opportunity to voice their opinions and to have platforms where we can discuss these issues to move forward and have a productive industry. Compliance is great. Inclusion is better than enforcement. Enforcement is necessary, but inclusion is equally necessary. I want to, just the 250th of America, so I want to shout out to some of my forefathers that fought in the wars. The Civil War, the World War I got grandfather, uncle in World War II, uncle in Vietnam War. Myself in this American drug war would have been Desert Storm. But I say that to say we don't have to war with ourselves in cannabis. If so, then we will be defeated. The illicit market should not fight with the so-called legal market. As a collective, everyone needs to understand that working together is better than being divisive. So there's a lot of issues and things that we can talk about. New York need to continue the conversations, and I just applaud everyone here, everybody making the effort to continue to write the good work. So that's it.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to New York, starting with Andrew Cooper, followed by Walter Iwachil.
Well, hello again. Thank you for participating. My name is Andrew Cooper. We met a short time ago. I'm here to address an important issue that although doesn't impact a tremendous number of card licensees, it is critically missing from the card framework. When a licensee's qualifying justice-involved individual, the JII, dies, and another qualifying JII is already tied to the license, there is no defined path to succession. The office requires every card applicant to submit a business continuity plan for exactly this contingency. What happens if the owner becomes unable to operate the business? Regulations are authorized receivership appointments in cases of death or incapacity, yet no regulation tells licensees exactly how to execute that plan when the JII dies. This is not academic. Section 116.7C requires card licensees to maintain 51% ownership and sole control by a JII throughout the conditional period. The moment the JII dies, the entity falls out of compliance through no fault of his own. And the definition of justice involved already extends beyond the convicted person to spouses, children, parents, and dependents. Two examples of this: Legendary Bliss, Alex Ravello, the JII and sole owner of the licensed entity, passed away. His wife independently qualifies as a JII as his spouse, inherits his interest automatically through intestate succession, and satisfies every card requirement at once. Another example in Dank Habit. The deceased father was already a disclosed minority owner and independently qualifies as a JII as his parent. The son passed away. He was the majority owner. An internal elevation, not a transfer to an outsider, was all that's required. In both cases, the successor is already known to the board and the license stays within the family that experienced the underlying harm. If the board requires continuity planning for this exact contingency, it must permit succession. Positions narrow, it only applies to a limited number of people. And approving an amendment to clarify this fulfills the card program's remedial purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Walter Iwachu, followed by David Miller.
Good afternoon. My name is Walter Iwachu with We for Justice 3. I want to commend the staff and the board for all the work they're working on for the benefit of our licensees. In particular, I would like the board to cooperate with New York City as far as the Cannabis Loan Fund program goes and see what you can do about providing more money or expediting it. That would be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. David Miller, followed by Jeffrey Hoffman.
So if no one on the board has an MOS of 031, military occupational specialty, or 0322, which is a Marine Corps Raider, or 0312, which is Scout Recon, I'm going to remind you what disability ratings are right now. With a 2.3% COLA for a 90% disability rating, you're getting $2,362 a month. In New York, veterans can't afford cannabis as a whole. Combat veterans can't afford cannabis as a whole. Service disabled veterans can't afford cannabis as a whole. One of the reasons cannabis got legalized was due to the research on PTSD. We need to start having that discussion here, because if you didn't watch CNN last night or Fox or whatever you watch before you're going to bed and having a cup of chamomile and smoking a joint, we ran out of missiles. And having been 1311, having been airborne qualified, the next thing is boots on the ground. We screwed up during the GWAT. 26 veterans a day kill themselves. Do something about access for veterans who can't afford cannabis, and stop putting it off. I'm begging you with tears in my eyes for my brothers and sisters in Arlington and sitting in the St. Albans VA. Do something. I'm demanding it now.
Thank you. Thank you. Jeffrey Hoffman, followed by Adrian Adams.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Hoffman. I'm an attorney here in New York City. I would like to thank the board and the office on behalf of my clients to whom today you gave licenses or renewed licenses or approved other matters that were before you. Very much appreciate that. I would like to congratulate Tosi, who is with us today, who was recently named the leader of Cannabis NYC here in New York. An incredibly important position. This is an office that has really shown some leadership, not that the office and the board here have not, but as far as loans to cannabis businesses and other efforts, the efforts previously by Ms. Dashita Dawson, and I'm sure Tosi will continue to proceed in those footsteps. So thank you very much, Tosi, and congratulations. Very interesting things that were done today related to card licenses. I think I've spoken with Ms. Washington about this a lot. Those of you that know me know that I'm a tremendous proponent of these things that have been done in the state as far as giving licenses to folks that had convictions and the entire concept of the equity licenses in the state. That being said, we need to remember that the state promised to build dispensaries for the card licensees and did not. The state promised to have incubators to help people apply for licenses and then to run their businesses when they got licenses. Those have not been set up. The law itself talks about low and no interest loans. Where are they? I think we really need to think about what we are doing to support these card licensees and these equity licensees. Additionally, for me today was bring your parent to work. I know it's usually the kid, the other way around. 2 years ago, you had a board meeting on my mom's birthday. You've done it today. She's with me here today. Thank you very much for allowing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
By the way, she just turned 80. Thank you.
All right. Adrian Adams, followed by Ina Monti.
Hello, Dr. Adrian Adams. I am a licensee for manufacturing and distribution. I had an interesting train ride in this morning. I had to read and ultimately will sign a $500,000 promissory note for a company that I sold exactly 1 year ago. I've been waiting for your TPI transport portal to open for a year. NOTA's goal, as stated earlier, was to material benefit card and C licensees, and that for some includes being able to sell out of an industry and invest those funds into one they are better able to excel at. In waiting for you guys for 2 years to authorize my license, I opened up a different business that is doing pretty well, and I could really use the marketing dollars. But I've been trying to maintain and stay with your regulations and stay in control as a 51% owner. And that involves a tremendous amount of legal fees. Every single thing that gets done has to go through my attorney, who is now basically what you're doing by delaying this TPI transport portal setup is you're making people's attorneys their business partners. All right. There's a certain percentage of the companies that are going to the attorneys now. And the two minority women that I found to take over my business, they deserve to be able to get their business up and running. They have brands that are waiting on them to really get cooking. I can't stand in their way. I need to sign this note and help the business move forward, but I don't want to be there. You're forcing me to be there. And by doing so, you're making brands stay shackled to current processors who aren't treating them right. There's a lot of brands that don't say anything because they don't want to end up in trouble with who they're dealing with. But if you're the second, third, fourth, fifth brand at a processor, you're not getting the same treatment as the top dogs. You're just not.
Thank you very much.
Please set up the portal.
Thank you. Ina Monti, followed by Michael Westless.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Ina Monti, and I'm here today regarding a retail dispensary license, Vivid Wellness, OCM Retail. Thank you. 24000199. On May 14th, 2026, the Southampton Planning Board approved our application confirming the location complies with all of the town's requirements. Despite these approvals, OCM denied our location amendment survey because another dispensary licensee, Southampton Deep Blue Sea LLC, who is not operational nor locally approved, is approximately 390 feet away. We respectfully challenge the decision because the record demonstrates the conflicting licensee made material misrepresentations both to the OCM and the board that warrant review. Specifically, represented to the OCM that it controlled the property while another unrelated entity had long maintained legal possession and operated a nightclub there. Submitted a 1986 certificate of occupancy issued to a different occupant for nightclub use, failed to obtain required local approvals, failed to take possession of the property within the time frame required by Cannabis Law 72-4. Considering that the cannabis law requires local approvals to be obtained before moving forward with the location, we obtained special exception permit and site plan approval necessary to operate in the town of Southampton, investing substantial amount of time and financial resources. We have provided the board with a memorandum supported by FOIL records from the OCM, the town of Southampton, and the Southampton Justice Court. We respectfully ask that you
Thank you. We will look at.
review, please, compelling evidence we have submitted to you and determine whether the license Southampton Deep Blue Sea would have been approved.
Thank you. We will definitely review the material.
And accurate
Thank you.
facts been presented.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and commitment to a fair and transparent licensing process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Weslis, followed by Neil Kaufman.
Hello, I'm Mike Wessels. I would like to thank the OCM board for making me homeless. You gave me a license, but you didn't approve. You didn't approve the new location that I applied for. So now I have no place to go. I don't understand how one doesn't work with the other. I paid the hundreds of thousands of dollars to tier up, and I have basically emailed every week, sometimes twice a week. I was told in July that for 3 weeks, in all of June, I had no deficiencies. 3 days before the meeting, they say you have a deficiency. So we correct the deficiency, but by that time, it's too late for the meeting. And oh, by the way, you didn't have a June meeting to okay all these licenses when you tiered up in March. It's hard enough to cultivate. You guys are really making it hard on cultivators. I've been cultivating for 3 years and basically have made $0. Zero. Now I moved to a new location to make some money, and the OCM doesn't allow me to put a crop in the ground. So I'm losing hundreds of thousands of dollars because of ineptitude. I don't understand it. I hired a consultant, hired a lawyer, make sure this all goes through. It's cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we can't even get this right. This has been going on. I've been in it from the start. It's been going on for 3 years. It's simple paperwork. Let's get it right.
Thank you. Neil Kaufman, followed by Sean Robinson.
My name is Neil Kalfin, managing member of Kalfin McGowan, a New York corporate cannabis law firm. In the past 11 years, we've participated in more than $2 billion of cannabis industry transactions, helped train participants in OCM's CCTM and CHIP programs, and submitted several detailed comment letters to OCM. We go back with John to MJ BizCon, I think 2017. I want to highlight 4 changes that could significantly improve New York's cannabis market through relatively modest revisions in the regulations that would remove unnecessary barriers. 123.9J, we've talked about this before, is one of the single largest barriers to investment in the New York retail cannabis, and unnecessarily so. It bars anyone with even a de minimis ownership interest in the supply side cannabis business anywhere in the world from investing in a New York cannabis dispensary. That eliminates exactly the investors that are most likely to provide capital: experienced cannabis investors, investment funds, family offices, and neighbors who just want to own a small piece of their local cannabis store. Nearly every other state uses a control standard instead. Allowing passive, non-controlling investments presents no realistic risk of undue influence while dramatically expanding the pool of available capital without compromising MRDA's policy objectives or costing the state a dollar. 2, OCM staff have recently begun treating daycare centers as schools in location reviews. That interpretation appears inconsistent with both the text and the purpose of the cannabis law, and dramatically expands the 500-foot exclusion zones throughout New York City, eliminating many otherwise compliant locations. This deserves immediate attention and clarification. MRDA's substantial corporate change provisions must be revisited. Routine corporate governance events like people dying, as Andrew alluded to, or an owner or someone resigning or quitting their job should not jeopardize licenses. The December 31 deadline for provisional licenses should require only the applicants submit a complete package by that date. OCM can then review it afterwards. This approach does not seem consistent with what Mr. Geske described at the last meeting.
Thank you. You can submit additional written comments. Thank you.
Neither one of these has worked.
Sean Robinson, followed by Shannon Riley.
Hello. All right. Thank you so much for having another meeting. I appreciate all the work that you guys do, but there's still a ton more to be done. As we've heard, there's a definite disconnect between the offices and the streets. So you guys really need to come and visit all the people here who are in dire straits, where they're being misheard or they're not being rightfully, where they're just, predatory stuff is happening. So let's continue to fight the predatory stuff. Let's really try to make this an equitable playing field that we've all talked about. I've spoken to most of you here about an incident that I'm dealing with. I spoke to a lot of you directly last month, and I haven't heard anything in a month. So I'm very curious as to where we are with that. Nothing's happened, which is great for us, but still something has to happen. 2, congratulations to the humble hustler, my man. Congratulations. And to all the vets who have served for this country and will continue to serve for this country for ridiculous reasons. You do have a great discount program at All Good. We service disabled vets, vets of all services. We really want to help the community in every way we can. So all veterans are welcomed at All Good Dispensary. Thank you so much for your time. Keep up the good work. I'm out.
Thank you. Shannon Riley, followed by Bazaar Royale.
Hello. Thank you. That was my husband. I am the second half of All Good. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Shannon Riley. We are OCM Retail 24000151, Rockaway Moonshot to the Moon, DBA All Good. Nice to meet everyone. We do have a strong focus on ethics and education within our store. And I expect to see that within what's happening in the licensing process. And for any one of you who have read my reports or my husband's reports that he dropped at the last meeting, the FOIA reports that I have submitted, something's happening. I got approved actually for our license today, everyone. By the way, we got renewed. Thank you. Thank you. This is a big deal here. Thank you for that, by the way. But for 14 months of me having that license, I have emailed your office about this. I have tried to make things right. I have tried to show maps. You can't argue maps, guys. You can't argue addresses. You cannot argue maps. You cannot argue feet. You cannot argue surveys. There are distances of measurements that are equal to law, and there's a reason for that. And these are things we cannot argue, and I cannot be gaslit. I've emailed for 14 months. I ask for somebody to look at what is happening, to see what is going on, and why are people communicating with the other party? They're moving mountains for them, but I'm completely silenced for 14 months. Why is that? I'm operational. I'm contributing to our community. And kudos on the CIP process. That new dashboard is awesome. It's going to help us connect our communities. It's what we need. I loved that CIP process. Yes, it's a little tedious, but the fact that we have to do it connects us to our communities even more. And we need that. Our communities need us. We all know that. Our communities need us. And OCM, I need you guys to help me. Please, if you could look at this report, if we could just sit down and talk about what's going on with facts and figures and measurements and why measurements are so easily ignored right now. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bizarre Royale, followed by Fernando Lendoff.
Hello, my name is Bizarre Royale. I know you know who I am. I'm not here to yell at you, scream at you, cuss you out, talk dirty about you. Please look into what is available for you to look into and right this wrong, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Fernando Lendoff, followed by Lance Binyard.
I don't need a mic. I need you guys to solve this problem for me, John. My advisors. Ma, I love you. You guys set me up. I feel set up. Why is people that worked in here have 13 stores and their foot on my neck? That they worked here. I can't name names because of defamation. John, I trusted you, bro. I'm not gonna have this shit. This kid talked to me in front of my nephew like if I was a fucking kid, bro. For $70,000, you promised generational wealth. Where is it? I'm locked in a contract, and you know what? Fuck it. Matthew Greenberg. I want the feds to investigate these motherfuckers. Fuck this shit, bro. You got me stressed out. I didn't do a deal with the Flowery. I didn't do a deal with Flintstone. I didn't do a deal because I made a legal. We fucking hustled in Washington Heights with that guy. With him. Yeah, fuck it. I lost the license then. You guys promised me a whole bunch of shit and set me up, bro. I'm a fucking gangster. My dad is almost about to serve 30 years in the Dominican Republic. I just chose this because I don't want to go to jail. Look me up. Look me up, please. They don't know who they did business with. Yo, these guys are. I want a federal investigation because I've been lied to. I've been played. My colleagues have been abused. That guy, you know who calmed me down yesterday? Linda Baldwin. Because I came here, I mistaken my psych appointment for here. The guys downstairs sent me back. I was tweaking, bro. I wanna smack him in the face, man. That's what I want to do. But Jeffrey, I'll go to jail. You guys set us up with these people. What's up? Where's the reparation? The general? Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Listen, they want to take my location and turn it into a Flintstone. The vultures are circling people that worked in here. This was for guys like me. He's from my hood. Me and him lost all our friends, bro. They all dead. I don't have relationships because of cannabis. I'm from Washington Heights. I'm Dominican. I will not be pimped. I do the pimping. In my country, sex work is work. I will not be pimped.
Thank you. I need to let other people speak.
Not for a license. You guys lie.
Okay, I'm sorry, sir. We really need, thank you.
Investigation into this. Take the license. Brooklyn, Carol Gordon, Red Hook. You're stealing my.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Let
you're
other
stealing
people,
my
I
information.
need to let other people speak.
Listen, that's it, bro. Take the license if you want. I trust in you, bro. People here got me in trouble. My life is on the line.
Okay.
My friends and family are not white. They don't lend you money. They want your body. And I survived 9 months with no life. I pro-saved won my landlord. I fought him 6 months. God damn it. Just to have my own name and not be a monkey or a con or whatever the. Yeah, man. Thank you, Jeffrey. I love you. Okay. Listen, if it wasn't for him, I'll really crash out. I don't need a license to make money.
Okay.
Sorry, man.
Thank you.
I just can't take it no more, man. I did this for my employees and for Red Hook. Now, man, take it. You guys lied to me, bro, and I'm tired. I want this all.
Okay. Lance.
Yo, I feel used, man. All right, man. I'm so sorry to my employees.
Okay.
I can't sue me, cabrón, lo que quieran. I'm tired, bro. I can't have it. I'm from the hood. They lied to me, man. All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need to let other people speak.
Right,
Lance Spinyard, followed by Colleen Hughes.
It up, but I told you I was gonna tell the truth, my nigga. I couldn't help it. All right, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, guys. All right. Thank you, guys. All right, I'm sorry.
Lance Spinyard, followed by Colleen Hughes.
It's been 6 years of dealing with this. I was promised Daphne. I was promised a lot of stuff. My boy Mata is not in the shop. He's licensed. She got him a license. She knows that he's not in the shop. And he deserves one.
Okay.
And so do all my friends that really died for this. You guys gotta understand. You know why I don't want to leave? Because it's hypocritical what's going on here.
Okay, I really want to let.
Sorry. I love you guys. Codified card. I don't got lawyer money. I'm my lawyer. I don't have it. I'm sorry. I'm saving my business. No, that's it. I did it. Red Hook. They're taking your information. I want an investigation.
We need to let Lance Spinyard speak now. He's been waiting.
Sorry, manito. Porque no voy a coger fotógrafo, pues una maldita licencia.
Test, test. All right. My name is Lance Binyard, and I am speaking on behalf of Lifted Essentials, application number 2026 000.
Why don't you wait just a second?
Okay.
Can we close the doors, please? Sorry, I wanted to be able to hear you.
Okay.
Start over.
All right. My name is Lance Binyard, and I'm speaking on behalf of Lifted Essentials LLC, application number 2026 000175. We submitted our application, our location for proximity review about 80 days ago and have not received a decision or any meaningful update. During that time, we've called, we've emailed, and have not been given a clear timeline for when our review will be completed. This delay has real financial consequences. We are at risk of losing our location. We're continuing to incur legal planning and other business expenses. And honestly, small and emerging operators can't reasonably be expected to hold commercial real estate indefinitely without knowing when OCM will act. I ask that OCM establish transparent processing times that will provide applicants with meaningful status updates and create an escalation process for applications that have been pending beyond the stated review period. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleen Hughes, followed by Susan Petak.
Hello, testing. Good afternoon. I'm a consultant who's helped several licensees navigate issues with the office and the industry over the last 8 years, beginning in the medical market. They come to me in crisis, so I'm back. Having the outdoor cultivator license renewals taking place in the middle of the grow season has caused a mountain of issues for several of my clients, one of which is here today. They submitted their renewal in March. They were approved in early June. They paid their hefty renewal fees. These clients were also in a problematic situation with a former management partner and solicited help from the TPB. They applied for a relocation, and at the state's behest, they applied for the first come, first served canopy expansion along with their relocation. They paid in full over $120,000 for the renewal and expansion months ago and just needed the green light from the CCB to grow. They had all of their deficiencies cured and should have been approved at the July meeting. This is in the middle of the outdoor grow season. We are now in August. There is still no response from the licensing department, so we escalated my client's pleas to leadership. By taking their money and withholding their approvals for seemingly no reason, this process is causing irreparable harm to the very community that you called upon to fix the cannabis shortage. Renewal and amendment fees being collected within 60 days of each other for a 2-year period to the corresponding approvals is criminal. We have only 2 minutes to address the board in person, and it is inadequate given the magnitude of harm that is being caused and the lack of communication my clients are subject to. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Petak, followed by Elijah Vasquez.
Good afternoon. My name is Susan Petak. My brother Michael spoke earlier today. He and I both own Wessel's Farms Inc. in Otisville, New York. We're third generation farmers. Excuse me, doing this out just really gets to me. Anyway, I'm here today to ask for your help. Our license renewal was approved over a month ago. Since March, we've been working to relocate our cultivation license, transition to an outdoor cultivation tier, expand our canopy, and submit everything to the OCM as requested. Cured every deficiency, and we were ultimately told there's no outstanding issues remaining in our application. We've paid $120,000 to this state. I don't know about you, but I don't have that. We have, like my brother said, have made no money on this, and we are still trying. The Department of OCM needs to get growers and business people on these boards so they understand timings, so they understand what needs to be done to get things fixed, because this has been way too long and way too hard. Normal businesses, if they need to move, they move. Okay? I get that you guys need to have the relocation recorded someplace, but it shouldn't be this difficult to do. If you need, your store is not in the right place or whatever, you just move your store or you close. We're growers. You came with this expansion in March. Do you understand that for growers, you need 6 months minimum to be able to get your crops in the ground, to find out what's going on? I'm sorry. But
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Right, Elijah Vasquez, followed by Sean Passaretti. Oh, okay. Sean Passaretti, followed by Sherelle Murray Powell.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Acting Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Cannabis Board. My name is Sean Passaretti with Green Valley Leaf. We are fully compliant with New York State cannabis law, Office of Cannabis Management Regulation, and all our local guidelines for our proposed adult location retail dispensary at 129 Hamilton Avenue in Brooklyn. We have secured full community board approval. We have maintained proper site control. We have met every proximity standard for schools, houses of worship, and other licensed retailers, and have submitted complete documentation on security operations and zoning and ownership. To date, we have spent over $150,000 in the process to ensure full compliance and a reasonable launch. Our application shows thorough compliance with OCM standards, including inventory control, employee protocols, and meaningful community education and impact measurements. We are ready to answer any remaining questions the board may have, and we look forward to the office recommendations so we can move forward, finalize our Cannabis Control Board approval, and open a reasonable, safe adult cannabis store. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Murray Powell, followed by Gabriel Marin.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cheryl Murray Powell, Esquire. I'm a cannabis, agricultural, dietary supplement trade, psychedelics, and immigration attorney. I've been practicing cannabis law for 10 years, and I've legalized in 14 states. I want to start off by acknowledging John Kajia and as well as Simone Washington for their leadership shown during the CANRA conferences in Oklahoma City, where they advocated for not only our patients in this new federal scheme, but also for our adult use licensees. Also, I want to acknowledge the OCM for their labor compensation board discussion that included a lot of diverse participants from across the state. With that said, today is the 64th anniversary of Jamaican independence. So shout out to all the Jamaicans that have contributed to the cannabis industry. With that said, in the spirit of independence, I want to evangelize with regards to decolonizing cannabis. Decolonizing in the global South includes acknowledging our sacramental users as well as our indigenous users, our sacramental practitioners and distributors, as well as our indigenous practitioners and distributors. So I want to acknowledge those who have come before us, why we have a industry today. With that said, I also would like to say decolonizing cannabis here in New York City includes the steps that were taken today by the OCM with regards to the declaratory resolution and the acknowledgement of sole control rules. This is an important pivot that was taken today. There are a lot of people who are harmed, a lot of people who've been hurting with regards to predatory actions, and this declaratory act is very important. And shout out to all the researchers, the universities in Jamaica for all the work that you've done for this cannabis industry. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thank you. Gabriel Marin, followed by Shlomo Weinstock. Gabriel Marin.
He might not be here.
Okay. Shlomo Weinstock.
Got it. Hi, everyone. I wanted to try and lobby for all the license holders that their license is expiring at the end of this year. I'm trying to help as many as I can, but it's been difficult to find locations for everyone. A lot of them are scheduled to expire by the end of this year. So if we can take a look at it to possibly extend it for them, or seems like a lot of people will lose their licenses. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you. Marco Rodriguez, followed by Keston Carter.
I don't see him either.
No, okay, so Keston Carter, followed by Shant Boscaregian.
The OCM is causing conflict within a community between two parties that would have not otherwise occurred if the OCM simply followed its own guidelines and the state regulations. My name is Keston Carter. I am a justice involved licensee, and I am founder of The Earth Canna, located at 1155 Liberty Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. A 2023 investigation between the Office of Cannabis Management and the NYPD led to enforcement actions against a residential property located a little over 400 feet away from our dispensary. That same residential property is put forth beyond this board today for license, to get a license. Last year, we were prevented from moving forward with our dispensary because of the same location. We voiced everything that we knew about the location to the OCM. The OCM already had the information because they led enforcement actions against this same residential house. For some reason, we were prevented from moving forward because of this property, even though you guys shut this property down already. We were forced to pay tens of thousands of dollars to Voskerigian law that we didn't have for a PCA that we didn't need. We weren't supposed to have to do that. Yet still, we had to do that. The same evidence that we put forth to the board is the same evidence that we was telling the OCM from all along about this property, and is the same evidence that the OCM already had. So why is the OCM pushing this property forward? Why? It makes no sense whatsoever. I'm gonna have Shant.
Shant Oskarajian.
And I'm just going to relinquish my time to my client.
Thank you. We were forced to do a PCA. The same information that we conveyed to the OCM, we put in front of the control board. The control board reviewed the information, granted us the PCA. We're open now. But yet still, yesterday, we have to pay our attorney again to come publicly and contest this house that you guys are pushing forward that's located within 400 feet away from us. Like, I'm confused to why this is happening. These people think that we're blocking them, and it's causing conflict between me and them. And before something happens in our community, the board has to step in and do something about this. This is not like something that's small, like you're doing it right in front of our faces. And just like this guy that you guys seen, this is the repercussions of what happens in these offices. There's real issues that's happening. These people that was operating illegally are now thinking that we're blocking them when we did everything right. We literally did everything right. And now it's causing conflict between me and these people. They're showing up to the store. They're threatening our employees. How does this happen? The board should 100% look into this and hold the OCM accountable, because it's causing real issues. If somebody gets hurt in my community, it's because of this. This should have never happened. I relinquish my time. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last speaker.
Really hope something can be done.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. That was our final speaker. So thank you to everyone for participating in today's Cannabis Control Board meeting. Please note that the time, location, and live stream link will be shared on cannabis.ny.gov in advance of the next Cannabis Control Board meeting. A recording of today's meeting minutes and a transcript will be posted as well. That concludes our business today. May I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. If there is there any discussion, question, or comment by any board member? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion to adjourn carries. Thank you all for joining us today. We will now adjourn. Thank you.
Great job.
Thanks, Brad. Good job, Brad.
Great job, Brad.